He was on a mission to find Mr. Warren G.
I got a car full of girls and it's going real
Swell, yeah.
Richard Pryor live in concert.
You will have to run!
He sweats a lot in this one.
He does. I think, I want to say this is the one that legend has it. He filmed 2. And the first one was like almost unusable. And the second one became this legendary classic. When I did my special, I taped 2. First was usable if I had to. But still 90% of what you see on my special Take Note is from the second show. Just because I was we had more people. I was in a more comfortable space. I had just ran it. I felt like the first one I wasn't super happy with it, but I knew like, okay, push come to shove, we can burn that. We can use what I just did. So it frees you a bit. What we're seeing is either him being completely relaxed because he already got one in the can, or him saying like, I got to come out swinging because the one we got is not usable. And whichever scenario, maybe somewhere in between, he just killed it on this one.
We watched the very beginning of this.
Yeah.
And although it's the one he went with and it's the second performance, the crowd is still trickling in. And during the first, I mean, he's on stage 5 minutes. And they're still coming in, it seems.
Yeah, and
that's very strange.
And he talks about there being an intermission. So I think Patti LaBelle may have opened up for him and sang, which is fucking just super badass rock star, boss, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the crowd is walking in, and the thing is, you would think the producer, the director, I don't know how many cameras they had set up, they would just go to a different shot. It's almost like they wanted you to see people walking in because they don't show people again. I would not think to have my special and like within the first minute people are still walking to their seats.
It makes me also think that he didn't have a comic before him.
Exactly.
And after the musical guest and after the intermission, he goes, no, after the intermission, I'm going to go out there, which is not smart.
Right, because he says, when I like when white people come back from intermission and black people, he didn't use that, he said something else, but black people have taken their seats. Like you said, why not have another comic just to let people take their seats, even if it's not like, even if he just does 2 minutes.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
He's just eating that entry time, and that's all that guy's doing.
Right. But my thing is, again, there's got to be another camera angle, a wide shot or shot above, where we don't see people walking in. But it didn't take away, but it was definitely an odd choice.
It's a bit of a free-for-all. Like, I don't think there's any crowd wrangling going on. Some dude just runs right up to the stage to take his photo from just runs out of his seat.
Motherfucker, sit down. You know you ain't got no film in the camera. You just bullshitting, just flashing, ain't nothing flashing. Sit your ugly ass down. To your seat, exit.
It's just like a free-for-all. I'm so surprised.
I think
it doesn't have that sacred, we're taping a special vibe.
It doesn't.
To me.
Not at all. Not at all. Well, it's Long Beach. It's Richard Pryor, and I guess he's known to be a free spirit, so he attracts that. But also, this is pre 9/11, obviously, right? But it's also pre-active shooter. So I think it feels like security was just different. It was a different time.
Yeah.
You could just walk up to the front and take a picture.
Yeah.
Now you'd get tackled. So back then, I just think it was like people were kind of like had more. They would treat like adults. They had more leeway. We trust you're gonna do the right thing. Kind of scenario.
But yet there's so many videos of a sports team winning a championship, and then the crowd is just on the court.
Yeah.
On the field, they're pulling down the goalpost, and
right.
And nobody's freaking out about it. It's just something that they seem to do.
It's a bit dangerous to have people storm the field, and at any point in time, that's a bit dangerous because people can get trampled. But I think the notion that people are storming the field, and one guy's just going to be down there shanking people, indiscriminately just shanking, stabbing people. They didn't think about that kind of stuff back
Yeah,
then. Now you're like, wait. How do we know one of the guys isn't stabbing people?
Right.
And it's not even like back then. If you said it, people would be like, "Get out of here! Why would someone stab people?" But now you're like, "Oh yeah, that could happen."
That's right. All right, let's get into this bit. You want to intro the bit?
He's transitioning from being in shape as a boxer to being in shape just as a person.
That's why you gotta keep your legs in shape, man, and do road work and shit. You gotta run 4 or 5 miles a day. Ali run backwards because that's the way he fights. I just be running like this. Rashawn, my trainer, he said, run, keep your mouth closed, breathe through your nose. You ever be breathing through your nose and snot start coming out your nose, right? That's when the women come out, right? You got snot hanging on your nose. You ever be running and get one of them and get it on somebody running next to you, right? Just, say, Jack, what's this shit you got on running? Do you know I would kick your ass? You gonna be running for real? You don't get this shit off me?
What I love about that bit is he never stops running.
You
So
keep
like
yeah.
the guy who like he blew snot on is now talking and running
They're still running and having this
at
conversation.
the same speed, which is great. Which is like kind of like, you know, you don't associate like great physical improv work with comedians, but Rich was great at it. I think that's a nice little, you know, you're pissed off and you're still jogging. You don't like stop the other guy. Like, wait, stop. You just, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's funny that you would still keep running. And I like the line, "You're gonna be running for real."
And sometimes it's ego crushing when you be running, because old white man be out there lapping your ass, right? Be done.
I love the shuffle.
I love. It's like he's barely using his body and he's just lapping you, which is still true to this day.
You be running, you get that pain in your side, but it means say, hello, I'll be fucking with you the next hour or so.
This is trademark Pryor, where he gives a voice to
Personifies something.
Yeah. What otherwise, oftentimes it's animals. It could be,
Right,
but
right.
he'll also inanimate objects aren't off the table with him.
Exactly.
He'll put a voice in character as anything.
It falls in line with his character work. He's great at acting, great at characters. But also, it just brings it home to you. You know, it brings it home because it's like the pain probably, you know, like when you think about like actually what's happening, it's just you have a pain, right? The pain is not a separate person, but making it a separate person is just a way of animating the bit. And yeah, he's great at that and brave, because a lot of people wouldn't do that, but it's simple. It's simple yet brilliant that you would do that. And I don't know why I don't do it that much, and a lot of comics don't do that. Because it's a great way to it's a great way to show as opposed to tell. Because Richard could say your side is hurting, and you can understand it's funny, but to give it a voice and everything just brings it to life.
And it's more surprising because to hear a pain have a personality and a voice is like, wow, that's part of the surprise.
Right, exactly.
I serve no purpose other than to kill your ass. I'll be moving from side to side, down your groin and up your ass. When you drop dead, I will stop. This is water.
He's really working.
Yeah, I think he actually had to take water. He actually tired himself out of it. And he's sweating like, no, this
is why he has a trainer.
Yeah.
So suave.
No, but you gotta stay in shape and shit, because you never can tell when in real life you will have to run. That's right, run. God damn it, run. Why get killed when you can run? That's right, a lot of people get an ass whooping and you could run. You be in the hospital, your ego heal a lot faster than a broken jaw. Because you still be in the hospital talking about, shit, I should have run. Run! That's right, if somebody pull a knife on you and you can't pull out nothing but a hand with some skin on it, your intelligence ought to tell you to run! But people be watching Kojak and shit too much. They think they have to be macho man. I'll take that knife and shove it up your ass. I'm macho man. You go from macho man to dead person. Cause see, in the movies, they always make getting stabbed with a knife look like it's cool, right? Cause they had that music. Na 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 na. See, in real life, you don't hear no na na na. All you feel is a knife in your ass. You be talking about na na na. So run and teach your old lady how to run, so you don't have to go back after her ass. You say I'll meet you home in 5 minutes, baby. And then you got something to laugh about when you get home, right? You say, baby, shit, I beat you here for 2 minutes. What the fuck happened? The people try to be macho man. They get you fucked up, Jack. Especially nowadays, because young dudes that fight, they don't even fight like older people. You know what I mean? Like, we used to just have gang fights, you use your fists and shit. Now they got that kung fu and karate and shit. They like to pluck your eye out and pull your arm out of the socket and shit. Oh, it ain't no fun to them. See, you go out there with that old-fashioned shit, they just kick you in the nuts. Now you be saying, come on, Jack. They say, whip.
That's just great. That's great.
Place yourself back then. Mm-hmm. Comics do this stuff all the time now. The act outs and the acting and the voices and stuff.
Right,
but this was like kind of this guy's a pioneer in that, right?
So, yeah, it's like, and it's the accuracy. Like, he didn't just drop, which would have been funny, but like you saw him, he got hit. He felt it. You know what I mean?
He actually acted out exactly what you would have done on a movie set. Now look at you, just been shot, drop, and he's such a great actor. I mean, it's so easy to see when you see him do his stand-up, and this isn't the case for all comics, you know. Right. And a lot of comics, they want to be actors, and we all get kind of pushed into that area. Oh, can you act? Can you act? You could tell by just watching his stand-up for 5 minutes that he is an extraordinary actor. And we don't talk about that, really. We talk about what a knock him out of the park comic that he is. But as far as an actor goes, right. I mean, it's clear.
I feel like Eddie Murphy took the baton, the acting baton, as well as the comedy baton. But he took Richard's acting baton and ran with it. And he was allowed, even though they don't let Eddie do everything he wants to do, and they kind of pigeonholed him in certain ways, but I think he's had a larger breadth of different types of roles, whereas Richard Pryor kind of like, even though he's just a great actor, he was always like playing a version of himself, like a scared version of himself, which worked. But I think, and because he's such a great comic, we lose sight of it. But like that bit, the falling, just how he did it, you know, because you could fall on the ground and not get a laugh, right? I mean, that won't usually happen, but if that does happen, you just fell to the ground and you didn't get a laugh. And guess what you got to do? You got to get back up.
Yeah.
And
that fall better get a laugh. Right, you better make it funny somehow.
Because you're wanting that laugh
yep.
to help you get up. Like while they're laughing, they're enjoying it, you get up. If you fall and they don't laugh and they're just watching you get up, whew.
Oh, it's like any extra physicality. I mean,
right.
You know, I remember distinctly doing a bit last year where I got on the ground and it didn't work, and now I'm on the ground. Like I didn't fall, I sat down.
Right, you said that.
I sat down to do kind of an act out and no laugh, and that getting up, like you say, now I got to get up, and it's so right. Humiliating.
Because, and that's the thing, like when you do comedy, you learn that they don't know when your punchline is coming, right? And so if you're standing up, you're telling a joke, unless you're like, so I said, put them in the sink. You know, unless you do something like that, right?
Yeah.
But typically they kind of get a sense, but they don't know. So if you get to a punch and they don't laugh, you can just keep rolling and act like, oh, that wasn't even supposed to be a laugh. But you can't fake that. You can't fake that when you're on the floor. Because they're smart enough to know, this feels like this would have been the crescendo of what he was trying to do.
Yep.
and this is uncomfortable for everybody
That's right.
because we didn't laugh. He clearly thought something was going to happen right here. You know what I mean? So you have to be brave enough, and Rich is. But he did it so perfectly that, of course, it's going to get a laugh.
If you've ever been kicked in the nuts, there seems to be a delay.
There's a delay, absolutely.
Between the time you're kicked, it strikes you, and then the time that you feel the pain. And if you watch that fall, it hit, and he actually acted out that pause between the kick and the pain hitting you. I don't know why biologically that is a thing, though, but I could be kicked in the nuts and be like, why did you just do that?
Right.
Oh, and then it hits me. He does that in the fall too. It's so realistic. It's so goddamn realistic.
Great job. You know, it was crazy is that Ed has a joke where he talks about getting hit in the nuts, and he describes to a T what Richard Pryor just acted out. Where Eddie Murphy says, because when you get hit in the nuts, you don't notice it right away. Talking about, I think it was playing tennis or something. But I love the timeliness of it is that, okay, this is 1979. He's talking about fighting versus people doing karate and kung fu. Yeah. And what's crazy is right now you got a thing where every guy and his brother is doing MMA. And that's and it's like still very accurate. It's just nothing changes, and like Universal Comedy is always funny because I know so many guys who are like not tough guys, but they've taken MMA class and now they just don't know how to like talk their way out of a fight anymore because they're like, you know what? I've taken a few MMA classes.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where we're at now.
And in 1979, that was the Bruce Lee rage.
Exactly,
And so everyone was, karate studios were popping up all over the place. People were starting to not talk themselves out of a fight anymore. Right, they started to get into a stance and go, oh, and this is what you get.
I love that singing, Macho Man, I'll take that knife and shove it up your ass. Like, it's just, when I first heard that, I could not stop laughing because it's like, clearly you're not going to win. Like, you're going to lose. Like, something about the voice, about that character, it's just like, you just know what happens to this guy. You know what I mean? And I think without saying a word, without really just, he talked about it a little bit, but without like telling you, oh, this guy, by the way, this guy gets his ass beat. You just know that's going to happen. I love, like, potential is such a great thing. Like, potential that's never met, never reached. Like people who practice their end zone dance, who play football, but they're never gonna get in the end zone. Richard has a way of just bringing you there, and you see it.
I'm not quite enough familiar with all the stand-up that was happening in the late 70s, but I'd imagine this was the one guy that you go to, and it's like watching stand-up in 3D.
Yeah, absolutely, because there was a little bit. But
who else is doing that?
Not to this extent.
To this extent,
the guy was kicked in. The guy. His nuts hurt the whole bit, and like he committed to that voice, and like it's just full committing. I think most guys were doing like monologues, kind of.
Yeah, very much so.
They did character work. They went in and out, but it wasn't so seamless. It wasn't so committed.
He's like acting out a whole movie right in front of your face. Absolutely. Like the entire scene is being acted out.
I think that it's great that a concept like you should run. Like that's not some new ground, new terrain, right? It's fairly obvious that you should run.
It's so simple of an idea.
Right, but he brought so much to it by doing all the character work where the simplicity wasn't in the concept, it was in the honesty and how he conveyed it, which I think was one of his best traits. Is like when you act out something really, really well, like even like a guy like Dane Cook, when your act outs are so good, it becomes its own level of honesty. Because I think as comics we love to point out angles that no one else has seen, and that's kind of cool, and to make people go, "Oh wow, that's so true. I never saw it that way." It's almost harder in a sense to be like, here's a way you've definitely seen it before, but you've never seen anyone do it like this before, or commit to the honesty the way I am. The fact that people don't run sometimes, and that whole I'll take that knife and shove it up your ass, it's like it's an obvious concept that you should run, and yet people don't. And he brought all of that to life. He
often will go to acting out the victim of a calamity for you.
Right.
He's so good at being like, what happened? And like it's happening, like the world is crashing down on him. The bad thing is happening to him. He acts that out so perfectly, like playing the victim of some stupid behavior.
Right.
To show you don't be dumb and do this. This
Absolutely.
is why you should run.
You just see how he birthed so many other comics. Like, obviously Eddie Murphy is heavily influenced by Richard Pryor, but so are many actors, many comics, obviously, but actors too. Like, you can see Kevin Hart, like some of the stuff he does, some of the stuff that Martin Lawrence does. I mean, don't get me wrong; these people are funny people that have their own sensibilities, their own sort of like quirks and idiosyncrasies, I should say. But Rich, kind of like the calamity thing you were saying, the like I've befallen to this ill fate and I'm gonna act it out. I think he did that on such a great level. It's almost like Lou Costello-esque, Abbott and Costello, if you go way back, or the Three Stooges. Like, it's that level of, look at all this crazy stuff happening to me, but it's one guy and no props,
Sure,
and just a mic on stage, and is able to bring, but still that much imagery to it.
When you were describing that, it made me think of a court jester. So way back when,
Right.
the court jester comes out in front of the king and then enacts a calamity upon himself, whether it's falling down or getting hurt or egg on his face or whatever. This is a much more sophisticated version of that, for sure.
Absolutely.
There's something in us that it's funny to us to see somebody falling down.
Right.
And of course, his way of doing it is like it just has layers upon layers upon layers upon layers and talent.
Absolutely. But it's great that's a perfect example, because the thing about the court gesture is that I think historically, if you weren't funny, you could like, it was life or death. Like, or you could get hurt, you can get fired. Like, if you weren't funny, or if they took offense, or if anything like that, you could really be hurt. And not that Rich is going to be hurt, but you feel like that's his level of commitment. I can't leave anything on the table. But it's still very nuanced, because he knows what he's doing. He goes in and out of the characters, It's like, I won't say desperation, but the desperation is he desperately needs to be honest on to a level that a lot of comics don't tap into. Like, and you can't, it's undeniable. Once you get to that level of honesty, it's undeniable. And I think as comics, so many comics these days, we're all about the element of surprise, coming up with a new thing, a new angle, new this, but we forget that. You know what? You can go deeper into the honesty, and there's stuff there there's stuff there people are leaving. People are leaving, like, how you cook something, and sometimes that stuff on the bottom is where all the seasoning is. It's where it's like the good stuff is. You think it's like the burnt stuff. No, but sometimes it's the good stuff, and he just drills down until like, fuck, like, getting hit in the balls and all this stuff. And he's doing it within telling you something, not just, hey, getting hit in the balls is funny, like, so you're not mad at him, because it's not a trite thing. He got into it a certain way,
It's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it.
How you're doing it.
Yeah, it's how.
It's not what you said, it's the way you said it.
Yeah. So I think most comics now think it would be below them to do a bit about running. We're going to do a bit about running. That's
right.
And of course, there's a whole alt scene that wouldn't even sniff that kind of subject.
Absolutely, but
it's not.
But he's on a big stage. He's doing theater. It's like a one-man show in essence. So he's got to make the people in the back laugh too. But the thing is, as he gets bigger, he doesn't lose honesty. He doesn't lose. Like, we're watching this on TV, it works. Like we were talking about before. Like, but in live, it would still work. Where some people, you're watching them on a TV, okay, fine, or a small screen. But if you were like 20 rows back or 40 rows back, you'd be like, what is this guy talking about?
I recommend this whole concert. It's on Netflix, by the way. We didn't realize that. We've spent an hour looking for it on YouTube. Didn't think to go to Netflix.
Right.
And what a gift. So watch the whole thing. I'll put a link to it in the description. And if you have any videos that you want us to review and check out, I'll put some information in the description. You can send that to us as well.